So this is episode 6, season 3 of the Clarkson Farm, and it's called the mushrooming or mushrooming. First of all, I loved the card for the title. It was all black, it was at night, and you have an antelope or some creature in the forest, and then there's light from the bunker. You remember the bunker with the mushrooms? Yeah, I kind of liked that small animation. So this episode has a lot of mushroom. I like to think of this as the goat and mushroom episode, because you remember Clarkson in the previous episode had planted this mushroom in a bunker, and so now it's more of summer and the mushrooms have begun to reproduce, and so you have a lot of mushrooms. I mean, he was literally overwhelmed by the amount of mushrooms that he was able to harvest. It was so extreme that he actually had to harvest and sell, literally hawk them to other shops, some competitors, and actually bars. And still, by the end of the episode, there are more mushrooms still coming up. We had moments whereby Lisa tried to come up with new ideas on how they can deal with that problem, which is basically turning the mushrooms into powder, so that, you know how people use the mushroom powder either for their drinks in the morning to wake up, like coffee, or sometimes to help with digestion. But then, as always, Charlie came in and did what Charlie does best, which is ground people, remind them about the rules, remind them about what's supposed to be done, especially for produce that people are going to consume. You know, Charlie is like the voice of reason within Caleb, Lisa, and Clarkson. He's the one who reminds people of what is supposed to be done. So I thought, even that confrontation I thought was interesting, when Clarkson and Lisa were having a conversation on how they can use the mushroom and dry them up and turn them into powder. That whole discussion was it was very, very entertaining. The other thing still on Charlie is that Charlie and Caleb got to go to meet the Prime Minister, which I could tell that Caleb fell out of place. He was very nervous. Actually, there's a moment that he gets to sit down with the Prime Minister, and you can actually just see how nervous the young man was. But it's a great thing to actually see that he was able to go to that point, to the point not very many people, especially farmers, get to go and meet either the Prime Minister or the President. So for him to get an opportunity like this, I thought it was pretty cool. And you can actually start seeing the impact of what Clarkson Farm is actually having on local farmers in Britain. And actually the Prime Minister, the idea that he has now started to embrace the farmers, the fact that he has decided to actually take note of their contribution to the country, I thought that's pretty cool. And still on laws and order and stuff and the government, Clarkson received a letter that acknowledges that his appeal was accepted, and so the shop and the restaurants are allowed to actually exist within that position. So it's a good thing to actually find that Little Squad and the restaurant and stuff are going to be, they're going to be allowed to have them around that particular area, plus the parking lot, all those things. Now they have to build a parking lot, which is now going into episode 7. So his appeal got accepted, and so it's a good thing to see now some of the things that he was fighting for in the previous season working out in this particular season. So the other thing about this episode was also the goats. Now the goats, during the previous episode, they were kids. They were like small goats. But now when you jump into the episode, they are all full grown. And perhaps the funniest part of this season so far is Clarkson around the goats, because they were chewing everything that they could see. Some actually had butted him in the balls. Some were just trying to step on him, climb on him. It was just havoc. And during that period is the time that they were trying to measure the weight of these goats so that they can take them out in the field and have them do what Clarkson wanted them to do, which is like weed out a certain area of the farm. And so they tried to measure the goats, they actually measured them. So that whole sequence is another very entertaining segment of this show, of this particular episode. The goats just terrorizing everyone who was around them. I thought that was pretty cool. And so when he takes the goats out into the field, there are other things that we learn about goats that most of us don't actually know, that goats are very, very intelligent. So if they find somewhere to jump over, or if they find an area to escape, they easily do it, and they will never turn back. They always try to escape, no matter how much you try to restrain them. So learning about how they behave was pretty interesting, and so it forced it forced them to have two electric fences. So you have one electric fence from the grid, and then you have one smaller electric fence from a battery, which is less powerful. So for the goats to actually learn that they cannot, touch those particular fences, it's I love animals, and so watching some of the things happen to the goats when they touched those wires was pretty hilarious, and I found myself laughing out loud. I did not want to laugh, but if you've seen the episode, you must admit that it was actually funny when they made that noise. I don't like animal cruelty. I struggle with that. I'm an animal lover. I hate it, but you had some really funny moments during those periods when they tried to, when they will try to go to those fences and just take a bite, and then they would make that noise and jump out, like whatever. Yeah, it's not meant to be funny, but when it happens, it's very funny, especially when it happens to like three goats at the same time everywhere. It's hilarious, and it's not. I know it's not supposed to be, but it is. And so I found myself really, really laughing. And you can also see Clarkson and Lisa not not able to hold a straight face. They were also laughing because some of those moments are very, very, very funny. So yeah, they created an area for for the goats, and then we also got to meet Gerald and actually learn something very interesting about Gerald. Gerald planted. You know where the pigs were? You know that small forested area that the pigs were? Gerald is actually the one who planted those trees there. So that was pretty interesting information to learn that Gerald is older than some of the trees that are actually there. He planted them there, and he got to explain it. But as usual, I could not understand it. I believe Clarkson and Lisa could not also understand it. Jeremy still has pigs, and the pigs now are pregnant. I mean, is it the boar or sows? One of those, the sows. The sows now are pregnant, and I think we are going to also have another difficult episode that is coming up, where we are going to see piglets, and piglets are going to die. Something that I don't want to see, but again, it's very interesting that he actually went back to the pigs. So finally, the last thing, and I keep saying this after every episode, that you have some of the best shots. They are shot so well, but this particular episode was a standout in that it's summer, so you have flowers popping up, you have the sun, and so you can actually see. I think this is what the cinematographers were waiting for, because they are very beautiful shots of the farm against the sun. They are very beautiful shots of just the fields with one, like the opening scene. You have a bunny running in an area that is flowering. You have a very good shot of those green fields. You have wide, beautiful shots shot from a distance, where you see the whole fields just turning green, and then you can see the sun in the background. So I thought those shots were really, really beautiful. This particular episode, I think, is what now the cinematographers went like, we have the sun, we can create some of the most beautiful shots we've seen so far. Now, still staying on the fields, there was a moment that when Clarkson was selling some of the mushrooms, there was an episode whereby there was some tension when Charlie came in with the barley. You remember the barley that is used to make Jeremy's beer? He said that the barley, the plant in itself, had some issues because England was raining, then it was suddenly hot, then it was suddenly, snowing. It was just a difficult season in terms of the weather patterns, and so that has an effect on the plants. And there's a possibility that they may not be able to use the barley to make the alcohol, but we'll get more of that as the crops grow, and perhaps in the next episode or episode 8. So that idea of the barley sets up, I think, the next 2 episodes very, very well, because now we are not sure if the barley is going to work or is not going to work. And funny enough, it's not their farm only that is having that problem, because there were some guys who were buying the mushrooms and they had the same exact problems. So I thought that was also a very good ending to the show. So basically, that's season 3, episode 6. Perhaps one of the most entertaining in terms of just ridiculousness, with the goats, with learning about Gerald, with, for example, the opening scene with the cows, when Jeremy opens. You remember, I think it was season 2 when they opened for the cows, and the cows were so happy to be free from being held together, and this was land, and they were jumping everywhere to eat the grass. They were so excited to be outside. Now they try to do the same thing during the opening of this particular episode, whereby they they got all the cows out, and Jeremy had this big expectation that the cows would be jumping around excited, but they just walked out like they just walked out like it was just any other day. Like they were not even excited about, about getting out. So that was pretty funny. It was also funny that, you remember, they were trying to build a dam. So now they're seated out there. They're still trying to build the dam, but now nature has taken over. It has overgrown. So Clarkson brings out Wally. Wally is that machine that was just clearing out areas, which is supposed to be his coping mechanism or something. So he brings it out, it clears the area, they sit down, they're having, I think it's lunch. And then Clarkson has a brainwave, instead of what they were doing, they could just add some pieces of wood and just create create whatever they wanted to, the dam. And so Caleb is like, why didn't you think of this before, So those were some of the funniest moments. With the goats, with the Lisa and her powder. Yeah, this was pretty funny. It was engaging and it was funny. And again, unlike what separates it from the previous episode, is previous episode you got a lot of dynamics of the challenges that come with farm. Actually, all the episodes from season 1 to season, to this particular season, I've always really covered the challenges that come with farming. This episode has a lot of positives in terms of the joys that come with being a farmer. With the Prime Minister, with the goats, with the mushrooms, with everything kind of working. So this was more of the positive side of farming. So basically that's it. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. Thanks for watching this. If you're here and you've watched all my episodes of the Clarkson Farm up to now, I want to say thank you. If you're a fan, I want to say thank you. For those few people who like my videos, those 2 people who like my video, I want to say thank you. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for watching this. You make this feel good, actually, doing this and knowing that there are people out there who are watching it. So basically, I just want to say thank you. For those who have not subscribed, you can do the thing. You can press the button. And so basically that's it. See you on episode 7. Thanks for watching.